Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 15, 2024 meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. Thanks to David Brandenburg and Shannon Graham for greeting. Thanks to Beth and Eric. I didn't do anything. Okay. Thank you for not doing anything, Eric. That's probably a net positive. So thanks to Beth for setup and Ticketmaster duties. Thanks to Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for the great programs we have. And thanks to Jim Gunno for handling our website. I'd like Debbie Jarvie forward for the invocation. It's a busy day.
Well, good afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Oh, Holy Creator, we are grateful for the privilege of training ourselves for service. Give us open minds and a clear understanding and a steady purpose to make the most of our talents and lead us into the fields of work where we can best serve you. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Joe Jenkins, give us a secretary's report, please.
Yes. Yes, Karen Layton.
Welcome, Karen. And we have some other guests. Denny, would you like to introduce her?
I'm really happy to introduce these people. First, the Beavercreek High School speech and debate coach. I'd like to introduce Patricia Lozano. She is the mother of our speaker that you'll hear today, Frida Lozano. We also have Tammy Nguyen with us and Elliot Chen. Welcome to Rotary.
Thank you, Denny. All right. So we have elected to replace our Sergeant at Arms report with a presentation from our four-way speech contest winner. And so, Frida, if you would come forward.
Well, first I'd like to invite all of you to come forward. Come on, Tammy, Patricia, you too, Rahul. Come on inside. A few weeks ago, Beth Kuzak, Fran O'Shaughnessy, and I had the great pleasure, along with Alex Zahara, to listen to these people present. And I find it interesting every year to find out what topics they choose to talk about. And it was absolutely fascinating. So what I'd like to do now is if you come forward over here in front of the club, I would like to present to Frida, the first place winner, and thank you for the generosity of the club. Yeah. And now the real talk. This year the club chose to raise the first place award to $500. So you're very welcome. Looking forward to your talk and opinion. Okay, the second place winner is Elliot Chen. Elliot, Frida, by the way, spoke at the Wright State University district conference level and she came in fourth. Last year, our first place winner was not able to speak and Frida filled in. So this is her second time around at the district level. And she's a sophomore. Elliot is a freshman. Great talk. That's the role.
So you get this.
And third place for $200 goes to Tammy Nguyen. I'm proud for Helen. Caitlin Prejudice as a high school student here in Beavercreek. Something I don't even think about. But she's lived through it and she gave us a great talk on that topic. And here's one for the photographs, Jim.
Oh, I had it wrong. There's 200.
Thank you.
As long as the real check is right.
Sorry.
Well, thank you all, winners. And now what I'd like to do is invite Frida forward. And we'll hear her presentation. I purposely didn't talk about what she's going to talk about because she's going to do it. Thank you.
I have 9 siblings. Siblings, divorced parents. But out of all 9 of my siblings, only 2 of them are younger than me. And those 2, just by themselves, have convinced me that I don't want to work in a job with children, and I don't even want my own children with how annoying that they can be. So when my speech and debate coach asked me if I wanted to take a leadership role and help coach some of the newbies and freshmen, I was a little hesitant at first. But I said yes, because I love speech and debate, and I wanted to share that love. And saying yes helped change my life for the better. I said yes to something called peer coaching. Peer coaching is when 2 students, players, or even coworkers help learn from each other and coach each other. So today, to truly look at the benefits of peer coaching, we are going to put it through the Rotary 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? And is it beneficial to all concerned? And right now, I can tell you it passes the test with flying colors. But first, let's start with, is it the truth? And the answer is yes. And it's the truth because it is a well-practiced and used thing. It's not just my high school that uses peer coaching. Many other speech and debate teams across the district use peer coaching. But it's not just simple high school speech and debate teams that use this method. It's also the professionals. In the sports world, peer coaching is called a player coach, and there are many famous examples of this. In fact, according to CBS Sports on February 11th, 2023, Bill Russell is an example of a famous player coach. And while he was a player coach, he led his NBA team to 2 different championships just as a player coach. So the fact that he, my speech and debate team, and many others can use peer coaching means that, yes, it is the truth. This leads to the second question. Is it fair to all concerned? And the answer, surprisingly, again, is yes. I love my speech and debate coach. He has over 10 plus years of coaching and speaking, and he's one of the best speakers that I've ever seen. But that makes speaking in front of him sometimes can be just a little bit embarrassing because he's just so good. But when it comes to peer coaching, that's eliminated. The same mistakes that I'm trying to coach my peers through are mistakes that I'm still trying to get over myself, or mistakes that I made just a year ago. The playing field is level because we get each other more, because we're making the same exact mistakes. So yes, it is fair to all concerned because it evens the playing field. This leads to the third question. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And to answer this, I don't need any statistics or any sources to prove it. I just need to look at my own friendships within the team. The girl that I'm closest to, not only in the team, but the entirety of the school, is a girl that I helped peer coach this year. And another person is an immature freshman boy that, let's just say, I probably wouldn't have gone too along with if I didn't peer coach him. But because I peer coached him, I now have conversations with him at least once a week, not even about speech sometimes. And let me tell you, when the 3 people that I helped peer coach all got into states, it took everything in me not to start bawling my eyes out with how proud I was of every single one of them. Because of peer coaching, I was able to get closer to members of my team that I may not have gotten closer to before, or it just helped me build the friendships that I already had. So yes, peer coaching does build goodwill and better friendship. And this leads to the last question. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And the answer, again, is yes. And there's actually a specific effect behind this. According to Psychology Today on December 12th, 2023, the protege effect is an effect where a person that is teaching also learns. So in many students that use peer coaching, they have better test scores. So while I'm coaching these kids to be better speakers, I'm also becoming a better speaker myself. And don't worry, this effect also works when we're pretending to teach each other. So even on the days that we got just a little bit distracted, and maybe we're doing everything that we were supposed to be doing, we were still learning from each other. So yes, it is beneficial to all concerned because we are both learning from this process. And this brings us back to peer coaching and the Rotary 4-way test, which, as I said, it passed with flying colors. And although the people that I peer coach and my 2 younger siblings can still be just a little bit annoying because of the experience that peer coaching gave me, I'm now considering going into teaching when I grow up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm gonna do me a favor and draw that ticket. Thank you. All right, we very much appreciate that. And how many times have you heard the speech complimenting you as a speaker?
That one.
All right, do we have any happy bugs? Yes, sir.
My daughter's in James and the Giant Peach this weekend at Tecumseh High School. She's one of the ants, so she there's a fat suit. It's really loud, obnoxious, and mean. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. If you're bored, come out. There's 3 performances.
So how far are those trains from her normal self? All right. All right, other happy bugs. JD.
Well, I'm gonna drop in. Jacob had a pretty eventful week this week. My oldest son turned 18 yesterday, so he's now a young man in my house. And then on Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember which day, he officially accepted to OSU, so he's gonna be going to OSU next year. So
Yes. Can I ask you to put it in here and then just. You mind collecting it for me? I appreciate you. Other happy bugs. Eddie Darby.
I am just absolutely delighted to have these terrific people join us today.
Great. All right, other happy bugs. Eric.
I'll give a happy buck. First, a bit of a sad buck. As you may have seen on the news, the Indian Lake area got hit by a tornado last night while I was at the theater. I had nothing to do with it. But unfortunately, there were people killed and a lot of destruction up there. I have a copy of the lake. I think it's still there. I don't know.
Other happy bugs. We have any announcements? All right, I have a couple club announcements. One, we're not going to have our board meeting today after the meeting. And secondly, we're accepting for the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Nominations for the Marion and Maddie Kinnick Community Service Award that we award each year. It's to honor a person or team whose significant contributions and efforts enabled the Beavercreek community to realize a major benefit in its life together. Acts of recipients truly symbolize meaning of service above self. Contributions and efforts could be for a single significant event or multiple events sustained over a period of time. It doesn't have to be a Rotarian, it can be a community member or group. Or a Rotarian, the award is a trophy, name added to a plaque, a Paul Harris Fellowship, and an honorary membership in the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. We give that out every year at the Founders Day. So you will email Jim Rudd within the next 2 weeks with any nominations. He'll bring it to the board and we'll vote on that.
Hey, Dave,
Yes.
I have an announcement. Our district will once again be participating in the National Day of Service on April 27th. It's the last Saturday of the month. We are once again partnering with Rebuilding Dayton Together, where we go into the inner city and do some sort of restoration. We've done a couple parks the past couple years. We don't know what the project is yet. I'll find out the first week of April, but you should have received an email through the district on that with a link to sign up. But if you need help registering, contact me and I'm happy to do that for you.
Any other announcements? Okay, to the ticket drawing for the right to draw for the Queen of Hearts, you need the number 339105. With Danny Jarvie.
That was.
Here comes Joe.
There's a lot of cards. Yes, there's not as many things.
And if I pick a joker, I put $5 in there.
The Black Rose.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So I get the distinct pleasure of introducing our program today. And the way I'd like to do it is connected to the strength of our club, or one of the strengths of our club. Beth and I always talk about the amazing feats, accomplishments, and just genuine people we have in the club that new members may not recognize. And to me, that's one of the most amazing things. And Dr. Frank James, who started James Investment Research, is genuinely one of those amazing people. So he passed away 5 years ago this week. I want to read a couple things from his obituary because it is amazing. So he's born in 1931 on a farm in Louisiana, Reserve, Louisiana. So he cared for cattle, according to his obituary, read as many books as he could get his hands on, spoke fluent French and English, and he graduated from high school at the age of 15. Then he went to LSU, and he signed up for the United States Air Force upon completion of his studies there. During his 22, I'm going to read now. During his 22 years serving his country, Frank flew more than 50 missions in Korea, served in the Strategic Air Command, and was eventually promoted to colonel and worked as a statistical analyst at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Saigon. He received multiple awards for his various acts and commitment to his country. The honors included 2 combat awards, the Air Medal for meritorious achievements of destroying significant enemy supplies while under heavy attack, and the Distinguished Flying Cross for his heroic act of manually releasing a stuck activated bomb during flight. In Vietnam, the statistical analysis he performed every evening was said to be reviewed by the Secretary of State and President Nixon over breakfast the following morning. Recognizing his exceptional intelligence, the Air Force sent Dr. Frank James, to study at Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute to earn his master's and his doctorate. But there was a condition. He could only have half the usual required 6 years to get through all his courses. He did, and the research he produced in those 3 short years would lay a new foundation for the future of economic theory. According to Dr. Frank, until that time, no one had ever collected evidence that the stock market was anything except random. He set about gathering and analyzing the performance of every stock of New York Stock Exchange from 1926 to 1960. And he discovered relative strength when against all of the prevailing beliefs of investment experts at the time, and is now the commonplace investment principle taught in universities and used by investors worldwide. He came back to Dayton because he was asked to teach at the Air Force Institute of Technology, and then, as I recall him saying, he had the best investment company in Alpha, Ohio, which he operated from his son's bedroom closet and the kitchen table. And it's grown to an amazing place it is right now. And Beth Hamburger and Fall, and 2 fellow Rotarians are going to come tell us about it. If you
Where's the Yeah.
Good to see you all. Thank you for having us again. And as you said, Dr. James was really a wonderful human being too. I mean, I worked with him for close to 20 years. And microphone.
Yeah, a little
Ah.
closer.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I have worked with Dr. James for more than 20 years, and he really was a incredible human being. In terms of treating his employees, treating people in general, and also caring about clients. Always saying, is this in the best interest of the client? Let's do it. And then we'll talk about our outlook. Because if you have any question, you ask Beth. She knows everything. Though she was my student 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
She really tremendous asset to James Investment Research. She joined the firm a couple of years ago. Yeah, he really has done a good job. They're going to talk to you about the economic outlook. She do this one.
I don't know what's with this clicker. Here, I'll do it for you, Paul. Go ahead.
There you go, there you go, there you go.
So, okay, good. Well, last year, you guys remember everybody was saying there'll be a recession, all right? It didn't happen. Even Jamie Dimon from the JP Morgan was saying we'll have a recession. All these economists were saying we'll have a recession. That happened. GDP growth in the end ended up to 2.9, something like that last year, which was tremendous for an economy where interest rates will rise. In general, when you have high interest rates, the economy tends not to do well. But last year was an exception. And the main reason for it was there's a lot of excess saving from the pandemic where people have a lot of money they were spending for that. And there's also a big pent-up demand where people were really want to get out and especially in the service area. The inflation played a role in too. And decrease in oil price. Oil price also went down because it slowed down in China. It slowed down here also. That's also helped free up some cash to individual and was also there. And the booming service economy. During the pandemic, good service did well. Buying TV, buying stuff, all the goods did well. But after that, the service economy, the restaurant, the hotels, the travel really started picking up. And that's very important because consumer represent 2/3 of the economy. And when they start spending, that's really a big driver in the economy. And also the government spending. There were the Inflation Act and the CHIPS Act also were bringing some money for a lot of businesses. All these factors play a role in Come to the next one. It's coming.
There we go.
Thank you. And I can see last year growth was better than value. In general, during period of slow economic, you will see value doing better. But last year, because people are not expecting it, growth did really well. And it's cyclical. If you look at the Russell 3000, which is basically a measure of the whole stock market, because Russell 1000 did 39, the growth, the Russell value did only 9.2. Cyclical did better than defensive. Again, if the economy was really slowing down and if we had a recession, the defensive, which means the utility, the healthcare, would have done much better. They didn't. You can see there, we just take one of the cyclical, which is the consumer discretionary, 39.6. Look at the healthcare last year, didn't do well. Again, large versus small, and that's normal. Slowing economy, large should do better. Large last year did the Invesco, that should be the top 50, made 38%. That means the 50 largest company in the country. have done 38%, while the Russell 2000, which is a small cap, did really 16.8%. A lot of things changed though after October 17. That was the bottom of the market. After that, after October 17 last year, the whole thing went up because the Fed signaled at the time that they're going to stop increasing interest rate, and that's what all the market needed. And then the artificial intelligence also came out in December with the NVIDIA and AI, and we'll talk about that later on.
Hand off now.
Okay, now I'm gonna let our expert tell you something about
Something about something.
something that you really need. Talk about it.
So we thought it would be good to talk about, okay, we saw the stock market do crazy gains last year. So for some of us in the room, watch out, don't try. For some of us in the room, that means our account balances went really up, right? Which is good news. The bad news, let's say about that, if you have to do these required minimum distributions, once you hit that age, you have to start taking these withdrawals out. We're going to see a lot of people this year whose required minimum distributions are going to be much higher than they thought they would be. And so what are some of the strategies we can talk about to mitigate that tax consequence? And maybe a little selfishly, I'm going to talk about Rotary too, okay? What we can do to help them. So one thing is certain, Congress is going to change their mind, okay? So we have the required minimum distribution age was 70.5 for decades, right? And then they've slowly been increasing it. And kind of famously to me and people in my circles, but they put these this law out, right? But then they're like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How are we gonna, they had to come back and like kind of correct it because the wording in the law was wrong. So anyway, there was a lot of confusion about, well, do we have to take it at 72? Do we have to take it at 73? Right? So anyway, look at your birthday, right? And see if you have to take that. A good thing, so this was the Secure Act 2.0. This year 72, they changed the R&D age. That was the Secure Act 1.0. Okay, and the Secure Act 2.0, again, Congress is going to change their mind. All right, is this 73, and then if you're born after 1960 is up to 75. When I'm thinking about what Congress is doing, I try to like get inside their head and I'm like, why in the world did they pass this law? What?
Don't do that.
I know, right? It's a dark place to be. But I try to get in their heads and like, so this is my little tongue-in-cheek, maybe a little cynical take on this, but what is the average age of a congressman? Right? Okay. And so they're trying to delay these required minimum distributions because they don't want to pay tax. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on it. So a good thing that happened with the Secure Act 2.0 is if you didn't take your required minimum distribution before this, it was a 50% penalty. So that is the highest penalty the IRS assesses. So why is it that we're charging people who are over 70.5 years old, if they forget something, we're charging them a 50% penalty? So thank God they came to their senses. And so now that number is down to 25% penalty. If you fix it within what the IRS calls reasonable time, the penalty is down to 10%, which is what it should be, right? We shouldn't be charging 50% penalties. But anyway. And also part of Secure Act 2.0, I want to talk about and kind of plug Rotary here a little bit, is this qualified charitable distribution options. So this is a way we can give to charity in a more tax advantaged way. And our favorite charity, of course, is Rotary, right? Okay, so just be thinking about that as we're going through here. It worked for me, Paul. I don't know.
That's smart, man.
You have to be like the right distance. Let me just take a step back. I can't remember if I said QCD. So, sometimes you talk in jargon, right? Okay, so qualified charitable distribution is a QCD because qualified charitable distribution is a lot of words, okay? So QCD is what we're going to be talking about here. So a QCD, what it is you can give up to $105,000 from your IRA directly to a charity. And you have to be over 70.5. Okay, the beauty and why people want to do this is it helps avoid tax from the withdrawals. Okay? And a part of the Secure Act, you can also give a one-time gift of like 50,000 if you want to do a charitable trust type of arrangement. So they're trying, again, this is a good way to get into the mind of Congress. They're trying to encourage charity, right? So they're giving you this ability where you can give directly to a charity from your IRA or your 401k and not have to pay tax. So how do these work? So a QCD, what happens is you sign a form from your 401k or IRA provider, and you say, make the check payable to Rotary Foundation of Beavercreek, okay? And then they'll mail a check to us, to Rotary Foundation of Beavercreek, or maybe they'll mail it to you, but it's made out to Rotary Foundation of Beavercreek. Okay, and that's how we can do this. And why do we care about this QCD, or why do we want to do it? Well, 90% of taxpayers don't itemize. We saw the standard deduction under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act double, right? So if you're married, the standard deduction is $32,000. So you have to have enough itemized deduction expenses or whatever to get over that threshold. And so a lot of people, that's way too much if they look at what's at their property taxes, their charitable deductions, right? All of those medical expenses. Most people don't get over that 32,000 anymore. So if you don't itemize, your gift to Rotary Foundation of Beavercreek isn't tax deductible. Okay, so this QCD lets you give money to a charity and you don't pay tax on the withdrawal from the IRA. If you have questions, by the way, just interrupt me and stop me. So I wanted to show you, this is, we have some really cool, I am like a super nerd, and I love numbers and crunching them and trying to figure out ways to manipulate for our benefit. But this is one of the software programs we have. It looks at, what if I gave $50,000 in a QCD versus just writing a check to the IRS, or not to the IRS, to Rotary Foundation of Beavercreek. I'm going to keep saying that because if I say that, then that means you're going to do it, right? So this is looking at, okay, a taxable distribution. This is, we took 50,000 from the IRA and we're going to write a check ourselves to Rotary Foundation. This one is our IRA provider is going to send the money directly to Rotary Foundation. Okay. So if we write a check, right, our income, boy, this person's doing well, right? Okay, let's just stop there. $436,000 must be nice. All right, but that's the total income if they took the distribution from the IRA versus over here, if we do the QCD, notice, right, the income is 50,000 lower. Okay, so when we do that QCD, the money never hits your tax return. So you might think, well, okay, Beth, if I donate $50,000, I'll be able to itemize. So that'll help me, right? The problem is, again, the standard deduction is so high right now. This itemized, even if you gave 50,000 to Rotary Foundation, you don't get to deduct, right, a whole lot more than 28,700, right? That's not 50,000 more than over here. So you really can save a lot of money by doing this, right? Our income is lower. We can still take the standard deduction and end up saving, this example's $11,000. And so just something to think about as you're groaning about your RMDs this year. Okay, another reason we want to keep our income low is what's called IRMA. Right, so it's honestly, until I did this presentation, I didn't know what it stood for. I just knew IRMA. I always think of, this is kind of an anecdote, but facts and IRMAs. So I always think IRMA's a girl. Anyway. But IRMA stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, adjusted amount. So this gets people really angry, okay, IRMA, because what we're doing is if your income is too high, now your Medicare premium will go up. And so that makes people salty, right? I hear some groans, right? So what if we lower our income, that can prevent our Medicare premiums from being higher. Okay, so that's another reason, right, to do these QCDs. I have a little handout. Again, I'm a super nerd. this Peter Professor, I did an example. This is, an example from our tax planning software, but if you flip to the back of the first page, it has a schedule there in that top left column, Medicare for P/D premiums. So one of the things we can do is we look at, okay, well, what's your income for this year, or what was it last year? And then how close are you to the top of that IRMA tier? So it's really important. So this Peter Professor, their income was 230,000. The top of that IRMA tier is 258,000. So we know, okay, we don't have a whole lot of room if we're trying to minimize capital gains, or we're trying to make sure the IRA withdrawal that we do doesn't bump us up over that next $258,000 mark. Right? Because look what happens. Your Medicare premium goes up $100 a month. For Part B, for Part D, it goes up another $20. So some of these strategies can really help minimize, right, the effects and kind of give the man a fist, right? Okay, we're looking at that because that makes people angry, right? The number that they look at, the other thing to consider, so again, that chart says Medicare Part B/D premiums for 2025. So they look at your 2023 income to determine what your premiums will be in 2025. So they're always 2 years back. Well, a lot of people, when they retire, their income is much lower, right? So you can appeal under life events to have that number reduced if there was a weird fluke in your 2023 income to help reduce your 2025 premiums, right? So there's some ways we can manipulate that a little bit. It's not fun though, right? Anytime you're dealing with the government and appeal of anything, it's a pain in the butt, but it is possible. So what can we do to avoid IRMA? Talk to me, right? I'm happy to help you. Want to talk to you about some strategies. The QCD that we talked about, again, being able to reduce our income. And a lot of times people are already giving to charities anyway. So if you're already giving to charities, why not take it from your IRA so that you don't have to pay income tax on it? Right? So that's a way we can avoid IRMA, because we can avoid the income altogether. We can do tax planning, and that's what we do with this. The handout I gave you is looking at if there's other types of investments, or there's other things that's going on in your life, how can we manipulate things to be as low as possible and stay within the tiers that we're looking at? So Roth conversions. So this is for people who aren't quite retired yet. So the idea with the Roth conversions is we don't have to take required minimum distributions on Roth IRAs. So if we take so many people, what we see with our clients is they have $4 million in a traditional IRA, right? They've saved, all in pre-tax vehicles. Well, then you get to 70 and a half, or 72, 73, 75, and you have to take these required minimum distributions. They can be several $100,000, and you don't have any choice, right? You're gonna pay that IRMA surcharge, you're gonna pay those things. So one of the things you can do ahead of time is do a Roth conversion. If we take some of the traditional IRA money and put it into a Roth, right, then we don't have to worry about the RMDs on those Roths. Okay, so that's a strategy that we talk to people about all the time, because you don't want to have IRMA, right? You're just between a rock and a hard place when you get to that space. You know, I don't have a pension, right? So I'm going to need $4 million to be able to retire, right? So this is becoming more and more relevant. But one of the things we want to look at again is with that tax planning is how much room do you have in your tax bracket? If we did some Roth conversions, what would that look like? How much would it cost? Is it going to trickle down and impact other things? Right. So those are some things that we look at. I want to kind of show you, this is again, my super nerd coming out here, but we can do these. If we do some Roth conversions, this is just showing a chart of how it can reduce. If we do those Roth conversions, we can reduce the required minimum distribution that you have to take. Another thing to think about with these Roth conversions, this is kind of an aside, but again, the Secure Act 1.0, when they passed it, it really revolutionized the way beneficiaries have to withdraw money from their IRA accounts. Before, right? If I inherit money from my parents, I could take money slowly over my lifetime and pay tax on it. They've changed it where now you have 10 years. If I inherit money from my parents, I have 10 years to take the withdrawal. So think about that. Your children are hypothetically in their highest year earning years when you pass away. And now you saddle them with this huge tax bill that they have to take out 1/10 of it, right? Over a 10 or more, depending on, and that's one of the things we can look at too with the tax planning is how much should we take this year? How much should we take next year? Comparing all those different options. And so Roth conversions, that's another thought. If this is like legacy money that you're going to leave to your kids, kind of a gift you can give them is doing some of those Roth conversions now. So that when they inherit it, they're not going to have to pay the tax over that accelerated 10-year period. So anyway, I taught at Wright State as an adjunct, not like Fall, who taught there as a very esteemed professor for many years. But I was a lowly adjunct, but I always told my students Roths are Roths, right? Okay, they're really awesome. I encourage you, young folks here, do a Roth IRA as soon as you have some money, okay? But anyway, so those are just some things that we help clients with. All right, so now, we started off, Paul told us what happened last year. And now we have tax problems. So Paul's going to tell you his perfect evaluation of what's going to happen this year, right, Paul?
No clue what's going to happen. No clue what's going to happen tomorrow morning. Thank you, Beth. I told you that this is more practical. This is something that really people need. And thank you for doing it. Now, we're talking about stock market. The stock market is now all dependent on what the Fed will do with the interest rate. Okay. Usually, the monetary policy play a big role in financial assets because the interest rate is the price of money, and if that price of money go up, then that will have an impact on all the financial assets. Basically, the Fed has a dual mandate. Okay? They have something for the price stability, and they have maximum sustainable employment. So price stability, with inflation. Basically, inflation is bad for the economy, for people in general, because your purchasing power go down when inflation go up. You have less money to spend on other stuff like food and shelter, and inflation is not going up. The credit becomes scarce. You're not going to buy a car if the loan is going to have an interest rate of 10 to 12%. If you can't buy a car, then somebody in Michigan, GM, going to lose their job. I mean, it's that inflation really play a big role in the whole thing. Maximum sustainable employment, basically, that's the second mandate that you click on. And you can see here, this is a graph.
Just kidding, Paul, sorry.
This graph here is from the Federal Reserve to show you the employment rates here, show you the inflation here. Now, we'll see in a minute what are the target they're trying to achieve here, but you can see there, remember, 2% for inflation and some number here that we'll talk about right now, more than 4%. Those are the target for the Fed right now. Thank you. Well, inflation, a lot of people talk about CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, which is a basket of goods that we buy on a daily basis. It also has shelter in it. The biggest part is shelter, basically the housing part. And that's what you hear about the most. But the Fed doesn't focus on CPI. The Fed focuses on something called US Personal Consumption Expenditure, CPE. That take out all the volatile elements like food and energy. Those are very volatile. They take them out. They look at the long term. They also have a different weighting scheme than the CPI in terms of shelter. Shelter is around 33% of the CPI, but it's a lot smaller than the CPE. The CPE now is around 2.8%, and it has been going down. Remember, inflation 2 years ago was 9.1%. And it's down now to 3 point something. Basically, they focus on this personal consumption. They will have a meeting next Tuesday and Wednesday, and they will look at all the number of the inflation numbers and the labor market number. Click on the next one, labor market, please. You can see a lot of people also, when they talk about labor market, they think about unemployment rates. The Fed look at a lot more data than just unemployment rate. But the number now is around 3.9%. That's very low. Now, the Fed every 3 months come up with something like a summary, the economic projection, and they will tell you what is a sustainable employment rate. Now, right now, from the number in December, they say 4.1% is a sustainable rate. Now, remember, right now, about 3.9%. Then there is more room for the employment to go up. That's mean they can put the brake more on the economy to slow that part. And that's going to help the inflation. Now they are not going to put the brake anymore because the cycle increasing interest rate is done. But what they're probably going to do is just higher for longer, basically. Right now it's around 5%. Going to stay that way for the next quarter or two. That's what's most likely. The next meeting is also about something called quantitative tightening. They part of this monetary policy. They start selling the bond. They accumulated the government bond. They accumulated over the year. That's called quantitative tightening. Basically, if they sell bond, they take money out of the system to slow down numbers. But you can see it's about 3.9. If you go to that bullseye, they are saying 4.1, then the economy can support more labor, more unemployment rate than this now. And that gives them some leeway of not increasing interest rate. They are trying to do something called soft landing. Soft landing when the economy is growing and the inflation is stable. That's basically what the soft landing is. It's very hard to do because if the economy grows too much, inflation will go up. Okay, and that's basically what they have. And if inflation go way up, they have to do something about it. A lot of people talk about these magnificent seven, and these are Meta, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, and Microsoft. Actually, Tesla hasn't been magnificent for the last couple of months. It has been going down. A lot of people are looking for a replacement for it. And this company has done extremely well because of the artificial intelligence revolution that is going on. A lot of people think that this artificial intelligence is going to be a lot bigger than the internet. And a lot of people compare it to electricity, something that's really going to change a lot. Again, who knows? Usually when you have something like this, there's a hype. People get excited about it, and they have all those superlative about it, and they will say, do it. But I don't know how many of you have tried it, ChatGPT or any of that stuff. You have tried it. What's your assessment?
Amazing.
Amazing.
I like it.
Like, do you think it's going to make a huge difference?
It's useful.
Useful. Yeah. I
Somebody
think
said scary. Somebody said scary.
scary. Yeah, a lot of people think you're going to replace our job, but remember, AT&T used to have 1 million operators. When you call somebody from AT&T or pick up the phone, that is gone. I've seen when you look at all these technologies that went up and say, okay, I'm going to lose my job. Something else is going to come up to replace that. And this is one of the technologies that is likely to make a huge difference, especially in medicine. It's an area that's you're going to replace all these lawyers also. That has a lot of nobody can replace these people because they've been the intricacy of these laws. But it's just incredible technology that's going on today. I mean, and NVIDIA, as you can see, NVIDIA is the one that is propelling it because they have the chip that's really people are using today. How long will that stay? Usually when you have a moat like that, a lot of people are gonna come in. You have a high margin like that, a lot of people are gonna come in and try to get in the field. There's a lot of stuff that you can. There are four buckets in this thing, in terms of investment. There are the chips maker, NVIDIA, TSM, Intel, and all the other. You have the second bucket, which is basically the cloud provider, and that's Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. The third bucket usually is the people who provide you with the program, the software programming, the whole thing. And the fourth bucket is the cybersecurity part. Okay, and now each one of these buckets have some leader in it. And there are some people who are in a couple of these buckets and they like it well. Okay. And a lot of that what you see in the market today is every day we look at it, one of these buckets is doing better than the other. Some days they might be the chip part of it do well, other days the software application that's going to be doing well. Key is to find companies that are in each one of these buckets that are leaders to play that revolution. People think the chips now have run, and it's time to look at the other bucket and see which one has going to do well. The BMT7, sorry, the BMT7 basically the 707. They made year to date 12.7. The SP500 made 7.61, and NVIDIA made 73%. Actually, it's up to date 2%. Then you just every day you can add to, because they really have a product that the market wants. Yeah, a lot of people say it's like the .com. No, because this company had huge profit. In .com, there were no profit. Some companies don't even have revenue. But they're just saying this is slightly different because of that fact.
Yeah.
887. Our global outlook, we think Europe is having a lot of issues because in Europe you have a monetary policy that is done by a central bank for all the European countries, but the fiscal policy is all at the local level. Every country has their own fiscal policy, in terms of government, in terms of taxation, in terms of the whole thing, and that's a huge difference there. And there is no connection there in terms of policy. And some of these countries has done really well, like Spain. Some countries are not doing as well. You can see in the kind of you don't expect the Europe to do as well, even though they probably will start cutting rates sooner than the US. The ECB is likely to cut rates. There's a lot of geopolitical event that is going on in the Middle East, Ukraine, in different places, China versus US, Russia, and all that stuff. That's also going to be a bigger role in the marketplace. Historically, war and these geopolitical events don't affect the stock market too much. Usually, the war in Ukraine in February, the market went down, went up after that. Gaza thing, a couple of days, and then went up. Historically, it doesn't really, unless it's something that's affects supply of oil or something that's really has a lasting impact. It shouldn't be. Now, coming election, not only in the US, all over the world, there are a lot of elections, different places in Russia. We're going to have election there in Europe. There are a lot of countries that's going to go through election, and that's also going to make a difference. And the reason the elections this time are different because the messages in most countries now are becoming, or the electorate in most countries now are becoming more polarized. Not only in the US, but a lot of places. In politics is getting, usually people in the middle kind of agree on a lot of stuff. But now the politics in most countries are the extreme, both sides are pushing the agenda more than the middle. And that's going to make a huge difference because if the extreme win in different places, right, the policy is going to change big time in terms of taxation, in terms of ESG, in terms of all kind of things. That's going to really make a difference. And that uncertainty gonna play out in the market too. You have that certainty, you don't know what's gonna come, and you know the policy gonna change drastically. That's gonna have a big impact.
Hey, Paul, we've talked too long. We've got 4 minutes.
Okay,
What do you want me to?
I'm just gonna say, favor international profitability. Profitability is very important. You can see today, if a company miss earnings or miss profit, they get hit hard. Because profitability because we are coming out from an earnings recession, for a company who are not making a lot of money. Now, if you miss, you get hit hard. If you beat, you get a big jump in your stock. Profitability has in fact become an important part, not just value or growth. This is a big factor. Okay. We are recommending that you go to small cap. Small cap usually do well after rise in interest rates because they usually don't have money and they owe a lot of money. For that reason, when interest rates start going down, tend to go back. And they also have been hit over the last few years. Like bonds because they take an interest now. Past 20 years, very low. Now we are getting minimum 5%. Election don't make a lot of difference. Historically, if you go look here, these are the red are Republican, the blue are Democrat, and over time the market going to go up. And that's basically something also that you have to keep in mind. That's the market, economy. There are some part of the economy that's going to change. Some sector are going to be favored by one group than the other. Some group going to be favored by one group. But in the end, the market itself, as you can see there, for a long period of time, does really well. Don't focus too much on who's going to win and that's going to impact me. Clearly, there are some sectors that are going to do better under Trump. Some sectors that are going to do better than the president. But in general, if you stay in the market for a long period of time, you're going to be fine. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So will you stay around if anybody has some specific questions? Thanks so much, Paul. All right, everybody will rise for the pledge. Next week, we have Michael Vandenberg from St. Vincent de Paul, Bob Kachoy and Denny Jarvie are our greeters. Please keep an eye on Facebook and beavercreekrotary.com for upcoming programs. And down the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, the nation under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Jim wants to test the law. What is what's that might be? I think
Did you get father in high school?
I'd like to get a picture of you guys in front of our black man. Sorry. Hope we see you next year. I know you stay away, brother.